was still completely calm, but his eyes darted back to the living room, locking on his machine gun. I grabbed my own M4, a lightweight version of the M16, and we tore downstairs, heading in the direction of the Dizengoff Mall. If it was a terrorist bombing, I prayed the mall wasn't the target. Located at the intersection of Dizengoff and King George Streets, it's the city's most popular shopping center, and on Erev Purim, the intersection was sure to be packed with teenagers, tourists, schoolchildren, and young mothers with strollers. No more than half a minute after the explosion, we arrived on the scene, and my worst fears were realized. The bomb had ripped through an enormous section of wall, destroying the mall's entrance, leaving a scene of unspeakable carnage. Scores of mangled bodies and limbs were scattered everywhere, arms blown off, bodies decapitated. A female soldier stared up at me, howling and writhing, one leg missing below the hip, the other gashed beyond repair. I knew she'd likely bleed to death before we could set up triage. As I turned, my boot heel slipped on pavement slick with blood. The Dizengoff Mall resembled a battlefield more than a crime scene. It didn't take Tal and me more than a few seconds to realize what we had to do. No one had a goddamn clue what was happening, and the collective sense of panic was escalating exponentially by the moment. All the usual authorities, the cops and the Border Patrol soldiers who park in front of the mall checking bags, were dead or dying. Tal shot me a quick, fierce glance. I nodded, acknowledging that I understood it was now our duty to take charge of the crime scene. Like all the elite commando units in the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, the fighters of the Sayeret Duvdevan carry two pieces of special identification. We have a card that says we're exempt from shaving, permission usually granted to ultra-Orthodox draftees who refuse to violate the biblical strictures against trimming their beard and side locks while in service, but in our case, issued solely to accommodate our need for disguise when we go undercover in the West Bank. More important, we carry a black clearance pass, which grants us the highest operational level of security clearance in the Israeli Army. Members of the top-tier Special Forces units can go to any military base in the country, no questions asked, walk into classified recon rooms, even sit shoulder to shoulder with officers planning top-secret operations. The other thing black clearance allows us to do, actually requires us to do, is take charge of a scene of a terrorist attack, regardless of the ranking military or law enforcement officers present. I chambered my M4, began running through the mob, screaming in Hebrew, "Get the fuck out of the way! Move! Move!" I shouted at one girl who stared mutely back in terror. When she turned, I saw the blood streaming down her face. There was a gaping scarlet and black hole. Her eyeball had been blown clear out of the socket. There are three basic rules of counter-terror first response. 1. Spot all threats. 2nd, neutralize the threat. 3rd, sweep the area. Tal and I were looking for active threats, an unattended bag, an individual appearing too calm, staring ahead with tunnel vision, an individual screaming in a manic manner, especially shouting out words in Arabic. Having swept the area and deemed it to be free of active threats, Tal and I began the gruesome work of dragging bodies to triage. Then came a cacophony of horns as police cars and ambulances with sirens wailing raced to the scene of the massacre. Hearing sirens in Israel isn't like hearing them in any other Western country. In the United States, our first assumption might be that an old man keeled over with cardiac arrest, or some kid fell out of a tree, or a couple of Grand Ams or Camrys were in a fender bender on the freeway. But in Israel, the public is always on edge, always prepared for the worst-case scenario. The sound of sirens is often a harbinger of something catastrophic, usually a massive loss of innocent civilian lives. And the Dizengoff Mall bombing attack was precisely that kind of catastrophe. On a typical afternoon, the intersection of Dizengoff and King George Streets is the most densely populated location in the whole state of Israel, a trendy hangout dotted by boutiques and chain stores like the Hard Rock Cafe, Benetton, and McDonald's.